Hello, it's still me, don't worry. Just some appropriate fonts and new background music, because of this bout of hobby inspiration thanks to Wild Imaginary West, the universe and video series from a channel Bulai Hobby Time, who has partnered with Room Foundry to create an RPG. The Kickstarter launched this week on the 10th and is doing really well, thanks to myself and many others funding the Kickstarter. If you want to check it out for yourself, links in the description. This isn't sponsored by them, it's just an exciting hobby project to embark on and share with you, whilst pointing those interested in something like this, like I was, in the right direction. Whilst on the subject of a Kickstarter, this conversion is thanks to a previously funded campaign, Critical Role's Legends of Vox Machina. I got the minis with my pledge, which means I have one mini in my whole collection, which has been only D&D Middle-earth Fantasy / medievally inclined, with guns and a cool long jacket. The Gunslinger Percy is perfect for my PC. He has pistols and a rifle ready to be a cowboy. He does have some details and some weapons to get rid of, but this is the perfect starting point. Starting with some snipping and taking off the fancy sword, this guy's not bringing a knife to a gunfight. Okay. Then continuing the snipping of some fantastical potion thingy pouches of D&D-ness off his side. Next on the chopping board is the frill neck piece collar things, but before that, this is when I decided to make him a mechanic, which is one of the trades. While I set up a shot, let me tell you about their passive ability, Enhanced Armament. They have a wearable gauntlet of scrap metal and technological parts and use it as a melee weapon. So this forearm is perfect for the chopping. Then off with the frilly fancy neckwear with some actual safety involved. After some overzealous clumsy filing, I filed that grin right off his face and messed up his chin. But no matter, I chopped it off to later do a face mask, bandit face covering. Problem solved / covered up. Now to find him a metal technological fist, in what I've previously described as a D&D Middle-earth Fantasy / medievally inclined collection. Luckily though, past me did some eBay Lucky Dip mini thing, and I got this Sci-Fi Master Chubby Chief mini. My only sci-fi mini to go with my only mini with guns. Perfection. He is a 32mm scale, so the gun's the size of Percy, but we don't need that bit. The chunky fist will be perfect for punching monsters in the face with. Snipped off the strap and the gun to go in my new Wild Imaginary West bit box. With the fist ready to glue on, I made a tactical decision to get the green stuff sculpting on the jacket done before I put a massive gauntlet in the way. Starting off with reconstructing the front of his jacket. Then, moving on to reconstructing his butt. Now I should leave it there for green stuff to cure, but I've never done that. I probably should. As in this case, I should stop. I've got green stuff details on both sides of the mini. You'd think I'd learn my lesson, when every other time I've done something like this, I've put a big old finger smudge and flattened all the sculpting I've done prior. And then you have to resculpt it, trying to recapture what I'd done before, and thought that's good, I'll move on. But that's gone. It can't come back. Doubt plagues your mind. Is this as good as I had it before? Why? 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 This is different. This is different to what I did. But is it as good? So I went and did the goggle straps on his head. That actually went quite carefully. Just to further smooth and even out the texture, I used the rubber nib tools, which usually snap off because I push too hard. Green stuff is done with the leather jacket, There is a slight indent near where I haven't gone fully to the matched top of the waist, because something's going there. Don't know exactly what at this point. Continuing the belt, or because he's a mechanic now, some more technology of the Wild Imaginary West. Speaking of technology from the Wild Imaginary West, I'm going to further risk not waiting for curing and smudging the sculpting I've done by putting the fist on now, because I want that dopamine hit of completion. I'm going to do a little bit of pinning to secure it in before I go into the only metal right hand I have, because the resin is brittle. I want to test out the drilling procedure on an offcut of a gun. This is where there's a high risk of finger smudging, but I did some tactical placing of my finger. Time to add the fist. Oh, nearly. Nope. Yeah, have a check. Yeah, still not quite there. Time to add the fist. There we go. To continue to not wait for it to cure, I took a particular interest in the offcut of this gun. This looks like the perfect piece to use for a full stool backpack, like the one he has here. These are used to repel or to attract monsters. Because I haven't waited for it to fully cure, I can just push it into it. With some prodding and shoring up behind my thumb to secure it in. With a hole already in from the side from my drill test, it is the perfect spot to attach an antenna. Eventually. Using some leftover still usable green stuff to continue the belt along the waist where it attaches onto. Going back to my one and only sci-fi model, and I snipped off one of his belly nipples, which will be perfect to put on the side over my green stuff sculpting suggestion of detailing with that figure of 8 bit. Much better. Now this is a good time to leave it to finally cure and come back tomorrow, but I have some still usable green stuff and I want that dopamine hit of completion. So I took a risk and made a green stuff addition in between the goggle strap details and the jacket front to add on the face mask. I got the general shape over the whole chin and jaw and used a knife to add grill lines for ventilation. Now I'm going to leave it to cure. after doing some montage shots. On to the next day, fully cured. So, do any of you recognise these extra bits? That morning, I had gone into my dad's storage and took home a birthday present I got in 2005/06. I haven't seen it for years. It's not all there, but it's perfect to add to my 1 mini's worth of sci-fi bitbox. But that's for another video. For now, I just have these 2 guns to see what I can add to his rifle. My plan is to swap it over to this barrel. Commence the snipping and slicing. Now I didn't like how that looked, and it had weakened the front of it anyway, so I snapped it off, which was what I should have done in the first place, because the mechanic is a close range melee fighter, with a gauntlet to punch things. It makes sense, you don't want to be shooting long range, then have to run all the way back over to crack an opossum in the jaw. Whilst on the subject of shotguns, the remainder of the rifle looks like a pretty badass shotgun for future kit bashing. From the barrel of the other gun, I cut off the end to add to the top of the antenna. It was small and I could only pin it so much, and it wasn't playing along with this idea. So I looked for another place to plonk it. Eventually settling on his gauntlet as a kind of generator battery capsule. With the kit bashing officially done, I primed in black. Then of course got out a bunch of browns. And for the metal, lead belcher, and Balthazar gold for any brass or copper. Starting off with Rhinox hide for all the leather, aka most of the model. Lead belcher for the metal parts. Balsar gold for the goggles, antenna, little rivets, buckle details, and picking up the trimmings on the butt of the shotgun. I brought down some Wild Rider Red to add a light panel to the forestall. Outer shot, obviously. Onto the face, which I'm not the best at, but this is a good mini with goggles and a face mask covering most of it. Just got to be extra careful. Tappy taps.
All you gotta do is tap it in. I can do that.
Then some Sanji dust for his blonde hair to add some variety from the browns. And using that creamy yellow tone for some of the details on the corner of the jacket. Back to some brown, with some Doomball brown, for the leather belts, pouches and boots. I then dry brushed some Gore 4 brown at the bottom of the jacket for some worn leather / dried mud, and then used it for his trousers as well. Now onto some washes. Narlow shade for the silver metallics, and Agrax earth shade for the leather. I do love how metallics look after a Narlow wash. So good. Makes all the difference when you're painting up a whole army of Minas Tirith too. After thinking I was done, I got out some Shabdi bone for a light dry brushing on the blonde hair. Now we've been finished, time for some final montage before and after shots. Thanks for watching. So this wasn't in Middle Earth, you may have noticed. This channel is opening up to other forms of tabletop. And if you like this, there's plenty more coming. Speaking of like the video if you haven't done already, helps the channel, helps the video out, and leave me a comment down below. And of course, and as always, subscribe. And if you like what I'm doing here, if you like the channel, share it with any fellow hobbits. And I hope this has been quite cool. See you on the next one.
It's quite cool.